The meteorite screamed through Earth's atmosphere like a vengeful star, leaving a trail of violet fire that made astronomers at NASA reach for their coffee and wonder if they should update their resumes. In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, Mrs. Henderson was watering her petunias when the object crashed into her backyard with the force of 1,000 thunderclaps, creating a crater that would have made the dinosaurs nervous. From the smoking pit emerged Zixthala the Devourer, an entity whose very name had been carved into the death songs of 47 extinct civilizations. Standing 12 feet tall, it was a writhing mass of midnight shadows and crystalline bone, with eyes like dying suns and tentacles that existed in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. Its voice, when it spoke, could shatter moons and drive lesser beings to madness. At last, Zixthala bellowed, its words rippling through reality itself. After eons of conquest across the cosmic void, I have found a new world to devour. Tremble, insignificant planet, for your destroyer has. A small orange tabby cat wandered into the crater, took one look at the interdimensional horror, and sat down with the kind of unimpressed expression typically reserved for particularly disappointing canned food. This was Mr. Whiskers, a 7-year-old cat whose greatest achievement was once catching a moth and whose current concern was that some inconsiderate creature had dug up his favorite napping spot. Zixthala paused mid-monologue, genuinely confused. In all its millennia of existence, across countless worlds and dimensions, every sentient being had responded to its presence with either blind terror or desperate worship. This small, fluffy creature was doing neither. Instead, it began grooming its paw with deliberate indifference. "Foolish beast," Zixthala roared, extending its shadow-wreathed claws. "Do you not comprehend the magnitude of my power? I am the end of worlds, the last thing stars see before they die." Mr. Whiskers looked up briefly, made a small mess sound that cats have perfected over millions of years, and resumed his grooming. In his mind, this was clearly just another weird dog that had wandered into his territory. Admittedly, it was noisier than most dogs, and it smelled like ozone and expired sulfur. But dogs were inherently ridiculous creatures. The cosmic destroyer found itself in the unprecedented situation of being completely ignored. This had never happened before. Even the legendary warriors of Proxima Centauri had at least screamed before being consumed. This small Earth creature seemed utterly immune to existential dread. "I have devoured the essence of entire star systems." Zixthala tried again, manifesting its true form across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. Mr. Whiskers yawned, stretched, and began walking away. He had important cat business to attend to, and this noisy visitor was interrupting his afternoon routine. Dr. Sarah Chun was having the worst day of her xenobiology career, which until 3 hours ago hadn't technically existed as a field of study. The readings from the Maplewood impact site were impossible energy signatures that defied physics, gravitational anomalies that made her instruments weep, and now she was standing in Mrs. Henderson's backyard, staring at what could only be described as a cosmic nightmare having an argument with a house cat. The preliminary readings suggest massive electromagnetic disturbances. Her research partner, Dr. Marcus Webb, whispered into his tablet while crouching behind Mrs. Henderson's garden shed. "Whatever that thing is, it's generating enough energy to power half the eastern seaboard." Meanwhile, Zixthala was experiencing its first existential crisis in 3 billion years. The small orange creature had not only ignored its terrifying presence, but had actively turned its back on the destroyer of worlds and begun investigating something infinitely more interesting. A suspicious rustling in Mrs. Henderson's rose bushes. "Attend to me, insignificant furry thing," Zixthala demanded, manifesting a crown of burning starlight above its impossible anatomy. "I am speaking to you." Mr. Whiskers emerged from the roses with a small garden snake in his mouth, which he promptly dropped at Zixthala's feet with the satisfied air of a cat who had solved everyone's problems. In the universal language of cats, this was clearly a peace offering to the large, loud creature that had invaded his territory. The gesture had an unexpected effect on the cosmic entity. No being had ever offered Zixthala a gift before tributes. Of fear, desperate bribes for mercy, yes, but never a simple, thoughtless act of kindness. The ancient evil stared down at the small, dead snake with something approaching confusion. "Is this ... food?" Zixthala asked, its voice dropping several octaves of menace. Mr. Whiskers sat down and began purring, a sound that seemed to resonate strangely with Zixthala's otherworldly frequencies. The entity found the vibration oddly soothing, like the humming of distant quasars, but somehow more personal. Dr. Chon watched in fascination as the readings on her instruments began to shift. The massive energy spikes were smoothing out, becoming almost rhythmic. "Marcus," she whispered, "I think the cat is actually affecting whatever that thing is." Indeed, Zixthala was discovering that the small creature's purring seemed to calm the eternal storm of rage and hunger that had driven it across the cosmos for eons. For the first time in its existence, the devourer felt something other than the burning need to consume and destroy. Mr. Whiskers, meanwhile, had decided that this strange new creature might be acceptable. It was large enough to provide adequate warmth. It had brought him a suitable territory to explore, and it seemed appropriately impressed by his hunting prowess. Perhaps this creature could be trained to operate a can opener. The standoff continued as Suburban Maplewood tried to process the fact that their neighborhood had become ground zero for the galaxy's most awkward first contact scenario. Asterisk. Mrs. Henderson returned from her grocery shopping to find her backyard had been transformed into what could generously be called an interdimensional cultural exchange, though she preferred to think of it as that time the weird meteorite brought a friend for Mr. Whiskers. Zixthala had spent the past 6 hours attempting to understand the small orange creature that had somehow neutralized its cosmic rage through the simple expedient of not caring. The entity had tried every intimidation technique in its considerable arsenal. Reality-warping displays of power, telepathic assaults, even manifesting the screaming faces of its countless victims. Mr. Whiskers' response to each escalation was to either nap through it or investigate whether the cosmic horror had anything interesting to eat. The creature appears to be some form of ... domestic predator? Zixthala mused aloud, causing Dr. Chun's instruments to register fluctuations across 17 different spectrums. Yet it shows no fear of death, no concern for cosmic hierarchy, no respect for the natural order of predator and prey. Mr. Whiskers was demonstrating this exact point by using one of Zixthala's extra-dimensional tentacles as a scratching post. The tentacle, which had previously been used to strangle the life force from dying suns, now found itself serving the significantly more mundane purpose of nail maintenance. "He's just a cat," Mrs. Henderson explained, setting down her groceries. With the weary acceptance of someone whose Tuesday had taken an unexpected turn toward the cosmically absurd. They're all like that, completely self-centered, utterly convinced they're in charge of everything, and absolutely immune to being impressed by anything that doesn't directly benefit them. This explanation hit Zixthala like a revelation. "You mean ... this is normal behavior for this species?" "Oh, perfectly normal. Mr. Whiskers once ignored a burglar for 3 hours because the man wasn't holding a can of tuna." Mrs. Henderson began unpacking her groceries while speaking to the galactic destroyer as if it were a particularly exotic houseguest. "Would you like some tea? You look like you might need to sit down." The offer of hospitality created another unprecedented experience for Zixthala. Across the cosmos, Civilizations had offered tribute, sacrifice, and desperate negotiations, but no one had ever offered tea. The simple kindness was so foreign to the entity's experience that it actually caused a minor reality ripple, temporarily turning Mrs. Henderson's petunias purple. Dr. Chun, still documenting everything from behind the garden shed, noted that the alien's energy readings were becoming increasingly stable, almost peaceful. "This is revolutionary," she whispered to Dr. Webb. "We're witnessing the domestication of a cosmic predator in real time." Mr. Whiskers, having finished his nail maintenance, decided it was time for his 4 p.m. feeding. He approached his food bowl, looked meaningfully at Mrs. Henderson, then at Zixthala, then back at the empty bowl. The message was clear. New creature meant additional staff for food service. Zixthala, following the cat's gaze, experienced its first moment of what humans might call being helpful, when it instinctively used its reality manipulation powers to fill the bowl with premium salmon pate. The act was reflexive, almost protective, and it confused the ancient entity more than any cosmic mystery it had ever encountered. ***. 3 weeks later, the Maplewood incident had become the most classified non-event in government history. Officially, there had been a minor gas leak that caused some unusual aurora activity. Unofficially, Dr. Chun was writing papers that would redefine xenobiology, philosophy, and possibly cat psychology. Zixthala had moved into Mrs. Henderson's garden shed, which it had dimensionally expanded to accommodate its complex anatomy, while maintaining the shed's cheerful exterior appearance. The entity had also learned to modulate its voice to avoid shattering windows, though it still struggled with indoor volumes during moments of excitement. "Mr. Whiskers has taught me something profound," Zixthala explained to Dr. Chun during one of their daily interviews. The cosmic destroyer was currently using 17 tentacles to operate a complex series of feather toys, while Mr. Whiskers executed impressive aerial maneuvers in pursuit. For eons, I believed power meant domination. That strength was measured by the fear one could inspire. But observe this small creature. Mr. Whiskers caught the feather, wrestled it into submission, then promptly abandoned it to investigate a suspicious cardboard box that Mrs. Henderson had left in the garden. The box was immediately more interesting than any cosmic toy. He possesses ultimate confidence without arrogance, curiosity without fear, and the ability to find joy in the simplest things. He rules through indifference rather than terror, and somehow this makes him more powerful than I ever was. Dr. Chun nodded, taking notes on her tablet. The philosophical implications are staggering. You're describing a complete inversion of traditional power structures. Indeed. When I devoured worlds, I was constantly hungry, constantly seeking the next conquest to fill the void within me. But Mr. Whiskers has shown me the power of contentment. When he sleeps in that patch of sunlight, he is completely present, completely satisfied. He has conquered the universe simply by not needing to. The transformation wasn't entirely one-sided. Mr. Whiskers had also evolved, though in more subtle ways. The constant exposure to cosmic energies had enhanced his natural cat abilities to supernatural levels. He could now sense disturbances across multiple dimensions. His purring could calm reality storms, and his judgment of character had become absolutely infallible. Several government officials had been diplomatically reassigned after failing what Dr. Chun privately called the Whiskers test. The cat had also developed some unusual new behaviors. He'd taken to patrolling the neighborhood at night, his enhanced senses detecting threats that ranged from interdimensional parasites to Mrs. Johnson's escaped parakeet. Zixthala would follow behind, providing backup that was probably overkill for most suburban emergencies, but which made both creatures feel useful. The most remarkable thing, Dr. Chun continued, is how you've both maintained your essential natures while adapting to each other. You're still fundamentally a cosmic entity, and he's still fundamentally a cat. True, I still possess the power to unmake reality, but now I use it primarily to ensure his food bowl never empties, and his litter box maintains optimal cleanliness. It is perhaps the most satisfying application of cosmic power I have ever discovered. Mr. Whiskers, having thoroughly investigated the cardboard box and found it acceptable, had now climbed inside and was demonstrating the ancient cat principle that any container, regardless of size, can accommodate exactly one cat. 6 months after first contact, Maplewood had quietly become the safest neighborhood in human history, though its residents remained blissfully unaware of this fact. The combination of Zix-Thalas' cosmic awareness and Mr. Whiskers' supernatural cat instincts had created an early warning system that could detect everything from natural disasters to interdimensional incursions to the approach of door-to-door salespeople. The partnership had also attracted attention from other corners of the galaxy. A delegation of Zix-Thalas' former victims, the surviving warrior poets of Alpha Centauri, had arrived to investigate rumors that the Devourer had abandoned its path of destruction. They found the legendary cosmic horror hosting a neighborhood barbecue while Mr. Whiskers held court from his position atop a custom-built cat tower that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. "This is not what we expected," admitted Commander Veltar, watching Zix-Thala carefully flip hamburgers with tentacles that had once strangled stars. "The reports spoke of your transformation, but we thought they were elaborate psychological warfare." "I understand your confusion," Zix-Thala replied, using its cosmic senses to ensure all the meat was cooked to optimal safety standards. "I, too, would have found this scenario impossible to comprehend during my previous existence, but observe the wisdom of my teacher." Mr. Whiskers was currently demonstrating advanced territorial negotiation techniques by allowing Mrs. Henderson's grandchildren to pet him while simultaneously maintaining a safe distance from the visiting aliens. His message was clear. The small humans were under his protection, but the strange-smelling visitors were on probation. Dr. Chun, now officially the world's first cosmic domestic relations specialist, was documenting the interaction for what would eventually become the foundation of interspecies diplomacy. "What we're seeing is a completely new model for conflict resolution," she explained to the assembled crowd of humans, aliens, and one very important cat. "Instead of traditional power dynamics based on dominance and submission, we have a relationship built on mutual respect and complementary strengths." The warrior poets were particularly fascinated by Mr. Whiskers' approach to leadership. "He rules without commanding," observed Veltar. "His subjects follow him not from fear, but from affection?" "Love," Mrs. Henderson corrected, offering the alien commander a glass of lemonade. "The word you're looking for is love. It's not a weakness, it's the strongest force in the universe. Just took a cosmic destroyer and a house cat to prove it." As the sun set over Maplewood, Zix-Thala and Mr. Whiskers settled into their evening routine. The cat claimed his favorite spot on what had once been the most feared entity in the galaxy, now serving as the universe's most comfortable heated bed. The cosmic destroyer used its reality-bending powers to create the perfect ambient temperature and a gentle aurora display for atmosphere. "You know," Zix-Thala murmured, its voice now a soothing rumble that harmonized perfectly with Mr. Whiskers' purring, "I spent eternity searching for the ultimate power, crossing galaxies, consuming civilizations, always seeking something greater. I never realized that the answer was right here, learning to be still, to be present, to find joy in simple companionship." Mr. Whiskers opened one green eye, gave Zix-Thala the slow blink that cats reserve for their most trusted companions, then settled back into sleep. In the universal language of cats, this meant, obviously, now be quiet and maintain optimal warmth levels. And so the galaxy's deadliest creature learned the most important lesson of all: Sometimes the greatest conquest is not of worlds or stars, but of one's own heart. Sometimes the ultimate power is not the ability to destroy, but the capacity to protect what you love. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe's most profound wisdom comes wrapped in orange fur and delivered with a purr. The stars shone down. On Maplewood, where the impossible had become routine, where cosmic horror had found domestic bliss, and where one small cat had accidentally saved the galaxy simply by being himself. Asterisk.